They laughed when he bought the cursed horse for just $1. But 3 days later, that dying animal led him deep into the mountains, to a secret someone was willing to kill for. What did the old horse know for 20 years, and why were armed men suddenly hunting them? Watch the full video till the end and follow our page for more powerful stories like this. In the small, dusty town of Willow Creek, people came from far away for the horse auction. It was a sunny afternoon, but the air felt heavy. A big crowd stood around a wooden fence. They laughed and pointed at one old horse. The horse was buckskin color, but he looked very thin. His ribs showed through his skin. He had old scars on his legs and back. His head hung low, and his eyes looked tired and full of pain. People called him the unlucky horse from Echo Hill. They said he belonged to a young boy who went missing many years ago in the mountains. Since then, bad luck followed him everywhere. "Look at that broken thing," one man shouted. "He is not good for anything. He will die soon." "Yes," another laughed. "Who would buy this old bag of bones?" John stood at the back of the crowd. He was a tall man with a quiet face. His clothes were old but clean. He had lived alone on his small ranch for many years. His heart often felt empty. He came to the auction to buy a cheap workhorse, but when he looked at this old buckskin horse, something stopped him. The horse lifted his head a little. His eyes met John's eyes. In those eyes, John saw not just pain, but something else. It was like the horse was waiting for someone, waiting for a long time. John's chest felt tight. He did not laugh like the others. The auction man called out, "Who wants this old horse? Starting price $1. No one raised a hand. People kept laughing. John took a deep breath. His voice was low but clear. $1, he said. The crowd went quiet for a moment. Then they laughed even louder. "You are crazy, John," someone yelled. "That horse will only bring you bad luck." But John did not listen. He paid the $1 and walked to the horse. He put a gentle hand on the horse's neck. The horse did not pull away. He stood still, as if he knew this man was different. "I will call you Red," John said softly, "because even in your sadness, there is a little fire left in you." Red looked at him. His eyes seemed to say thank you. John took Red back to his ranch called Thorn Ranch. It was an old place with a small wooden house and a big field. The fences were broken in many places. John lived there alone. He had no family. His days were quiet and hard. That night, John gave Red fresh hay and water. Red ate slowly. He was very hungry. John sat on a wooden box near the stable and watched him. "You have been through a lot, old boy," John said. "People say you are unlucky, but I think you are just very tired. Maybe we can help each other." Red lifted his head and looked at John for a long time. Then he went back to eating. John felt a small, warm feeling in his heart. It had been many years since he talked to anyone like this. The next morning, something strange happened. Red did not stay in the field. He walked to the gate and stood there. He looked toward the north, where the big mountain stood tall and dark. John came out with his coffee cup. "What is it, Red?" he asked. Red turned his head and looked at John. Then he started walking slowly toward the mountain trail. He did not run. He walked with purpose, as if he knew exactly where to go. John felt confused, but something in Red's steps made him follow. He saddled his other horse, a young brown mare named Daisy, and rode after Red. He did not know why, but he felt he had to go. They traveled all day. The trail went up into the hills. Pine trees stood tall on both sides. The air grew colder. Red led the way without stopping. He seemed to know every turn. John followed quietly. At night, they camped near a small stream. John made a fire. Red stood close to the fire and ate some grass. John talked to him while he ate his simple dinner of bread and beans. "I do not know where you are taking me," John said, "but I trust you. Maybe you have something important to show me." Red came closer and stood beside John. His big body felt warm. John put his hand on Red's shoulder. For the first time in many years, John did not feel so alone. On the second day, dark clouds came. Cold rain started falling. The wind was strong. They climbed higher into the mountains. Red kept going, even when the path became rocky and dangerous. John was tired and wet. His legs hurt, but he did not turn back. Red's steady walk gave him strength. That night, they found a small cave to hide from the rain. John lit a small fire. Red lay down near him. John could see old scars on Red's body in the firelight. He wondered what stories those scars could tell. He wondered about the boy from Echo Hill. What happened to him? Why did this horse carry so much sadness?
You waited for someone, did you not? John whispered. All these years.
Red's ears moved. He was listening. On the third day, the sun came out again. They reached a high place. Below them was a deep box canyon. It was a hidden place with steep walls. Red stopped at the edge. He looked down and then started walking along a narrow path that went into the canyon. John followed carefully on Daisy. At the bottom of the canyon, everything was quiet. Big rocks and old trees stood everywhere. Red walked straight to a pile of fallen rocks near a dry stream. He stopped there and waited. John got down from Daisy. His heart was beating fast. He walked to the rocks. He started moving the stones with his hands. After some time, he saw something. It was an old wooden wagon, broken and half buried. One wheel was missing. The wood was old and gray. John's hands shook a little. He kept digging. Soon, he found something else. It was a human skeleton. The bones were old and white. They lay near the wagon. The person had been young, maybe a teenager. John felt a deep sadness in his chest. He knelt down. Poor boy, he said softly. You never made it home. Tears came to John's eyes. He thought about the boy from Echo Hill. This must be him. He had tried to run or hide, but something bad happened here. Red stood very still beside the wagon. His head was low. His eyes looked at the bones with a quiet pain. It was like he remembered everything. John kept looking. Near the skeleton, he saw an old iron chest. It was rusty, but still closed. He pulled it out. It was heavy. He used a rock to break the lock. Inside the chest, there were old papers and a leather book. The book was a ledger, like a diary of important things. John sat on a rock and opened the ledger. The writing was old, but clear. It told a sad story. Many years ago, a rich man named Lyle Creed owned a big silver mine called Sun Wen Silver Claims. It was very valuable. But his trusted workers and partners wanted the mine for themselves. They planned to kill him and take it. Lyle Creed found out. He wrote everything in this ledger. He gave the ledger and the land papers to a young boy who worked for him. The boy was to take it to safety, maybe to Lyle's family. But the bad men found out. They chased the boy into these mountains. The boy hid here in this canyon with the horse. There was a fight. The boy was killed. The horse ran away but came back later. The bad men never found the chest. They told everyone the boy ran away with the papers and got lost. Lyle Creed was killed soon after. His body was never found in a way that showed murder. People thought he left his family. John read the last page. It was written in a hurry. It said, "If anyone finds this, please take it to my daughter Rosie. Tell her I did not leave her. Tell her the truth. The mine belongs to her." John closed the book. His eyes were wet. He looked at Red. The horse had waited here for years. He had protected this secret. He had led John here because John was the right person. Not for money, but for truth. "You are not unlucky, Red," John said, his voice shaking. "You are the bravest horse I have ever known. You waited 20 years for someone to listen." Red came close and put his head against John's chest. John hugged the old horse's neck. He cried a little. It felt good to cry after so many lonely years. But their moment did not last long. From the top of the canyon, voices came. 3 men on horses rode down the narrow path. One of them was Deputy Miller. He was a big man with a hard face. Everyone in town knew him. He had been the deputy for many years. With him were 2 rough-looking men with guns. John stood up quickly. He hid the ledger inside his coat. His heart beat fast. Deputy Miller stopped his horse and smiled, but it was not a nice smile. "Well, well," he said. "I always knew this old horse would lead someone here one day. We have been watching him for years. We knew he would come back to this place." John's face became hard. "What do you want?" "The papers," Miller said. "Give them to me. No one needs to know what really happened." Lyle Creed is dead. The mine can be ours. You can have some money too. Just hand over the ledger." John shook his head. "No. This belongs to Rosie Creed. Her father wanted her to have the truth." Miller's face turned angry. He pulled out his gun. The other two men did the same. "You should have stayed out of this, rancher," Miller said. "Now you will die here like that boy did." Shots rang out. Bullets hit the rocks near John. He ducked behind the old wagon. He pulled out his own gun and fired back. One of Miller's men fell from his horse, but John was alone. He was hit in the arm. Blood came out. Pain shot through him. He fell to one knee. Miller and the other man came closer. John thought this was the end. Then something amazing happened.
Red, who had been standing quiet all this time, suddenly changed. His eyes became wild. He made a loud sound like a cry of anger. He ran straight at Miller's horse. Red was old, but he was still strong. He crashed into the side of Miller's horse with all his power. Miller's horse reared up in fear. Miller fell to the ground. His gun flew away. The other man turned his horse to run, but Red chased him too, kicking and biting like a wild animal protecting his friend. John used the chance. He aimed carefully and shot. Miller was hit in the leg. He cried out in pain. The other man rode away fast into the trees. It was over in a few minutes. Miller lay on the ground, holding his leg. He was beaten. John stood up slowly. His arm hurt badly, but he was alive. Red came back to him. The old horse was breathing hard. There was a small cut on his side from a bullet, but he was okay. John put his good arm around Red's neck. "You saved my life," he said. His voice was full of feeling. "After all these years of being alone, you came into my life and gave me a reason to fight." Red rubbed his head against John's shoulder. His eyes were calm again. John tied up Miller. Then he put the ledger and papers safely in his bag. He helped Miller onto a horse. They started the long ride back to town. It took 2 days to reach Willow Creek. John was very tired and his arm was hurting, but he did not stop. He went straight to the sheriff's office and told everything. He showed the ledger. The sheriff read it and his face became serious. Deputy Miller and his men were arrested. There was enough proof in the old papers to send them to jail for many years. The truth about Lyle Creed's murder finally came out. John then asked around for Rosie Creed. He found her in a small house at the edge of town. She was a woman in her late 30s. She worked as a seamstress. Her clothes were simple. Her eyes looked tired from years of hard work and sadness. She lived alone. People said her father had left the family long ago and never came back. John knocked on her door. When she opened it, he took off his hat. "Miss Creed," he said gently, "my name is John. I have something important to tell you about your father." Rosie looked at him with surprise and a little fear. She let him in. John sat at her small table. He put the ledger in front of her. He told her everything. About the horse auction, about Red leading him to the canyon, about the skeleton of the young boy, about the papers that proved her father was murdered by the men he trusted. Rosie read the ledger with shaking hands. Tears filled her eyes and fell on the old pages. She covered her face with her hands and cried. It was the cry of someone who had carried pain for 20 years. "He did not leave us," she whispered between sobs. "He tried to protect us. They killed him for the silver." John sat quietly. He did not rush her. After some time, Rosie looked up. Her eyes were red, but there was a new light in them. "Thank you," she said. "Thank you for bringing my father back to me, even if it is only the truth." John told her about Red, how the horse had waited all these years, how he had suffered but never gave up on the secret. Rosie wanted to meet Red. They went to John's ranch. When Rosie saw the old buckskin horse, she walked slowly to him. Red stood still. Rosie put her hand on his neck, just like her father might have done long ago. "You are a good horse," she said softly. "You kept your promise." Red closed his eyes for a moment. It was like he understood. John and Rosie talked for many hours. They decided something important. They would not sell the silver mine for quick money. Instead, they would use the claim and the land to rebuild Thorn Ranch. They would make it a place for people and animals who had been broken by life,
a safe home for lost horses, tired old ranchers, and anyone who needed a second chance. It was hard work. John used the money from the first silver they found to fix the fences and the house. Rosie moved to the ranch. She was good with numbers and planning. Together, they made Thorn Ranch come alive again. They brought in old horses that no one wanted. They helped a few families who had lost everything. The ranch became known as a place of healing. Red got better too. With good food and care, his coat became shiny again. His eyes lost the deep sadness. He walked the fields with a peaceful look. Sometimes he stood near the old wagon they had brought back from the canyon. It was now a reminder, not a secret. One evening, many months later, John sat on the wooden porch of the ranch house. The sun was going down behind the mountains. The sky was orange and pink. Red was in the big field, eating grass slowly. His body looked strong and calm now. Rosie came out and sat beside John. She held his hand. They did not need many words. John watched Red. A warm feeling filled his chest. He thought about the auction day, about the crowd laughing, about the $1 he paid, about the long journey through rain and cold, about the moment Red charged like a young horse to save his life. He was never broken, John said quietly. He was just waiting for someone to believe in him. Rosie nodded. And you believed. John smiled a small, happy smile. It was the first real smile he had in many years. Red lifted his head from the grass and looked toward the porch. His eyes met John's eyes across the field. There was no more pain in them, only peace. Only the quiet understanding between a man and the horse who had changed his life forever. The wind was soft. The ranch was quiet. For the first time in a long time, everything felt right. John leaned back in his chair. He knew that no matter what happened next, he and Red had already won the biggest fight. They had brought truth into the light. They had given each other a home. And they had learned that sometimes the most broken things carry the strongest hearts. Red grazed peacefully in the golden light of the setting sun. John watched him with eyes full of gratitude and love. The old horse had finally come home. Thank you so much for watching this story all the way till the end. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. It really helps us a lot. If you want to watch more exciting stories like this, don't forget to subscribe our page right now. Tell me in the comments, where are you listening from and what time is right now? And if this story touched your heart, please send some stars. Every single star gives us huge motivation to keep creating more amazing videos for you. See you in the next story. Take care of you, friends.